in our research, and by the way, there's many, and most of you are familiar with this, many theories of decisions, and most of them are very good, and there's lots of research on how to make appropriate decisions. So I'm going to share with you what research we've done and other people who do similar types of work on decision making. And we found that there's really two kinds of decision makers, or two types of decisions, I should say. One is what we call forward thinking, and the other is called backward thinking. And let me tell you where I got these two concepts. Anybody in here a Sherlock Holmes fan? Oh, I know. Oh, great. You're my peeps. I love Sherlock Holmes. I love to read Sherlock Holmes. I'm not so crazy about the new movies. They're okay. But you read Sherlock Holmes, and he talks about the difference between he and his counterpart detective, Lestrade from Scotland Yard, who's relatively inefficient. And one day, Holmes was explaining how he thinks versus Lestrade. And Holmes called his thinking forward thinking. And that's where I got the idea, because I really saw it in expert decision makers. And really the difference is the forward thinkers look for solutions. The backward thinkers look for justifications. And let me share with you an example I'm sure we've all had, an experience we've all had. Okay, the warmer weather is coming soon, we hope, all right? At least that's the theory. So we walk into a retail store. You pick the store, right? And we see a jacket. And we immediately say, I got to have that. All right? We've already made the decision. I got to have it. All right? So now you start to justify all the reasons you need that jacket. All right? Warmer weather's coming up. I don't have a jacket like that. All right? I'm going to go to a ball game, and that jacket would look perfect. It'll match other things that I have. All right? It's new and it's stylish. I like it. It fits really well. So you buy it. You bring it home. And you realize it really wasn't such a good deal. You really don't like the jacket after all. Right? And if you're a guy, you're going to stick it in your closet and never look at it again. If you're a woman, you're probably going to take it back and exchange it and make a better decision the next time around. Now, this is a little scary, all right? Do we have any people that do work in the medical field? Oh, good. Oh, a couple people, all right. All right, this was a study done with X-ray technicians. Novice, if you will, people with less than 5 years experience, and expert X-ray technicians. And they found with the novice X-ray technicians, these are people who potentially are looking at your X-ray. They use a lot of backward thinking. They spot something, usually the biggest thing or the brightest thing, and that's the cause. And then they work backwards looking for other evidence to suggest this is the way it should be. This is what we should attack. But the experts don't. The experts use forward decision making. Let me put the schematic up and just take a quick look at it, and then I'll explain it to you. By the way, it's been supported by our research and research out of the University of Pittsburgh in particular. I don't know if you can read it, but the first step is define the challenge, define the problem. I know that sounds kind of simplistic, but you know, in doing the research on the differences between great decision makers and poor decision makers, ultimately the great decision makers take less time. But in the first step, the great decision makers take more time. Because they know if they don't get the problem right, they have no hope of ever getting the solution right. So they spend more time analyzing really what is the problem. What are we trying to solve here? What's the purpose? What are our goals? And then once they got that, they move to the next step, which is to identify the things that are causing the problem. Not the symptoms, but the causes. Most of you deal with teams, right? You work with people. Just shake your head if you're still awake. Oh, good. All right. Yeah, you work with teams. All right. Let's say you have somebody that's on one of your teams, or maybe the team that you're working with, and they've been great all along for the past 2-3 months. All right? Very happy, very willing to go the extra mile. And all of a sudden you start to notice, not so much anymore. Right? They're kind of crabby, a little cranky. They want to go home. They don't really finish their duties like they used to. And so if you're a backward decision maker, you look at that and you say, listen, you got to step it up a little bit. You got to be a better team player. Well, what you're doing is attacking the symptoms. What a really good decision maker would do is say, that's not how you were last week, or last month. Is there something wrong? And most of you have done this before, so you know, potentially, yeah. You know, I've got a loved one who's chronically ill that I just discovered, or financial hardships have hit them, or some other major issue. Maybe something happened on the team. But until you know what the factors are that are causing the problem, again, you have no way of identifying what the problem really is. And I know you all work with people that just go rapid decisions and off they go to the races without really thinking about what it is that it takes. And most of you have also had the privilege of working with people who are good decision makers that don't mind stepping back a little bit and saying, wait a minute, let's find out what's really going on here. Right. Which means that you can go to the next solution, or the next step, sorry. All right. And this, again, is a major difference between good decision makers and poor decision makers. Construct solutions. Notice that's a plural, solutions. Most people are good at saying, okay, here's our problem, here's what's causing it, here's our solution, let's implement it. No, the really good decision makers say, okay, yeah, that's solution A, and you know what? It's probably a good solution. But let's see if we can circle the wagons a little bit, make another decision or solution. Let's come up with solution B that might even be better than solution A. And let's not stop there. Let's come up with one more, solution C. Because now what you have allows you to do the last step, and that's evaluate, given these circumstances and these factors, what's the best looking solution we have in front of us? And it may not be A, it may be B. So let's go with B. And here's the real nugget in it. What if B doesn't work? Yeah, you can go to A. Novices can't go anywhere. They've got, basically, they started with A, and that's as far as they'll go. And they'll ride that solution into the ground. All right? You've all seen it. I know that. So it allows you to have what we call contingencies. So think just a minute, if you will, about a major decision. And again, you can't do this with every decision, like, you know, what am I going to wear for socks tomorrow morning? That's not appropriate for this. But major decisions that you've had in your business, can you think of one that you've had in, let's say, the last 2 or 3 weeks, and analyze it based on that? And just take a minute at your table and share that if you don't mind. A major decision. And talk through, did you do those steps? Or what steps could you have taken to make it better? Go ahead. Now, if that decision followed most of those steps fairly closely, I'm guessing you're pretty satisfied with the results of that. If you skipped one of those steps or kind of shortcutted one of those steps, probably not going to be that good. Right? That's just what we know about decision making. And sometimes, yes, we're human. Sometimes we don't make good decisions. But the next time you have an important decision to make, think about those steps. I would strongly encourage you, particularly the first step, make sure you got that problem right. And then the third step, don't just start to act because you have a solution. Play with it. Make sure you got a good solution and you have backup plans. All right.